Kids Entertainer podcast audience, I'm delighted to bring you a story of inspiration today. I'll be talking with Annelise the Magnificent and her mum, Alison Mass, and they're going to share their story with us about how magic has changed and is continuing to change Annelise's life at the very young age of 9 years old. Annelise and Alison, welcome to the Kids Entertainer podcast.
Thank you. We're excited to be here.
Fantastic. Now, as an introduction, Alison, I would very much like if you can give us sort of a brief overview of what things look like for you at the moment with Annelise performing and sort of the journey that has led her to here. And then a little bit later on, after I've spoken with Annelise about her magic, we'll go into the background of what has led up to where you are now. So sort of a snapshot of what Annelise's life looks like at this moment in time.
Well, she's pretty busy with magic shows. When we first started, it took a lot of work to get us to for anybody to agree to have her show up and do a magic show because, I call and say, I have a little girl that does magic. And we're like, yeah, okay, whatever. So taking some videos, show videos, and now that she's getting more popular, we're getting a lot of people asking us to come and perform at their events. She was at her school a couple weeks ago. And this past weekend, we did a kids' carnival where she did a show. And then after that, she did a booth where she taught magic tricks to some of the kids that were walking around. And then we have 2 shows coming up tomorrow already.
Oh, my goodness. That's quite a busy schedule, Annelise. Fantastic. Now, Annelise, I'm going to come to you next. And I sort of want to ask you, what does magic mean to you and how is it changing your life?
I like doing it and it keeps me entertained. And I feel that more people know me now that I do magic.
Oh, that's fantastic. So you get as much entertainment out of performing the magic as the audience you are performing to. Is that right?
Yes.
Oh, fabulous. And that's really helping you to get more known and to feel that you're doing something for other people and for yourself?
Yes.
Wow. And now, Annelise, I want to ask you a little secret. I want to ask your secret, actually. I want to know, what do you do when you go on stage? Because we all know about pre-show nerves is when you get really nervous before you go on stage and you do a show. And I want to know, what do you do before you go on stage?
I get nervous before every show, but as soon as after I introduce me and the birds and Master Benjamin, I'm not nervous anymore. It's just like I'm at home practicing.
Oh, that's a fantastic little piece of advice. So it's almost just like being at home again. You forget about all the people watching you and you just feel comfortable within that. That's brilliant. Now, Annelise, can I ask you, there was something you mentioned there. You spoke about the birds. Do you want to tell us a little bit about the birds?
My bird is Cosmo and my brother's bird is Fuzzo. They have been with us to do magic for about a year. Mm-hmm. And I think they enjoy doing magic too.
Fantastic. And what kind of birds are they?
Ring-necked doves.
And how did you get these birds? Tell me their names again.
Cosmo and Fuzzo.
Fuzzo and Cosmo. And how did you get them?
Benny got Fuzzo not too long ago. There was a person selling ring-necked doves, and he just got Fuzzo there. And I got Cosmo from far away.
Oh, wow. And did you have to train them?
Yes.
Fantastic. And are they good performers now?
Yes.
I'm so glad.
As still scared.
Is he? Is he? And then the other thing you mentioned in that when you spoke about your handling your nerves, you spoke about Master Benjamin. Who is Master Benjamin?
My brother.
Oh, wow. So it's you and your brother, and you were both performing. And does Master Benjamin do his own tricks, or is he like your assistant?
He doesn't do his own tricks. He just helps like get them out and ready and taking them down. So there's not as long as a wait in places. After.
Fantastic. That's brilliant. So you have your very own magical assistant on stage.
Yeah.
I love it. You know what, Annelise? Because if you look back at all the great magicians, right, they all have magician's assistants, but there's a big difference here. All the magicians are normally men, and their assistants are ladies. And I am delighted to see that for the first time in a very long time, those roles are reversed. And you, as the girl, is the master magician, Annelise the Magnificent, and you have a male assistant, Master Benjamin. Go, Annelise!
Yay!
That's fantastic. Wow. And now, the other thing I wanted to ask you, Annelise, could you tell us a little bit about where did you learn magic? How did it all start for you?
First my mom asked me for if I wanted some magic for my first birthday, or not for my 7th birthday, and I told her yes, and then after a while I forgot kind of about it, and then on my 7th birthday I'd come and there was the first magic kit.
Oh, wow.
And I just started building off of that.
Fantastic. And I believe that you've used the internet as well to learn your magic tricks?
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic! I look forward to talking to you, Alison, a little bit more about how that magic journey looked like, because there's some really helpful tips out there for our listeners and for maybe entertainers who have young aspiring magicians, and it would be helpful if you can share that. But before we do that, Annelise, I've got one last question for you, and it is, what is your big dream?
I really want to go and travel the world and do like magic shows all over the world.
That is a fantastic dream. And I tell you what, when you do that, I'll come and see you. I will come and see your show. How about that?
Okay.
Brilliant. That's a date. Annelise, thank you so much for sharing your journey and your performance and your passion with us. That's really such an inspiration. For me, I've been doing magic for 10 years, but just hearing it again from fresh eyes and from starting out on that journey, it's a real inspiring story. Thank you so much for your time. I'm now going to have a little chat with Mum and ask her a little bit about how it looked before you started doing your magic.
Okay.
Fantastic. Now, Alison, that is great to hear it from Annelise and how that is shaping her life and is continuously to do so. But I know from conversations we've had beforehand, obviously this wasn't a smooth ride, and where you are now, there was a lot of hardship before, and I would very much like for you to go into a little bit more detail about Annelise's history and how you've come to be with us here today on Kids Entertainer podcast.
Okay, well, like she said, got her a magic kit for her 7th birthday. She's had a lot of health issues, poor thing, and I was trying to find something else for her to focus her energy on besides all of her health issues. First started right when she was just a couple months old. She had some rough skin, and I asked the pediatrician what she thought of that. She sent us to a dermatologist, and the dermatologist gave us a pound of steroids and said, she's allergic to something, just rub this on there. And I wasn't very satisfied with that, so I went to the allergist, and she tested positive for a peanut allergy and an egg allergy. But not to be too worried, because the worst that could ever happen was her rash would get worse. So we avoided that stuff. And she was doing all right until I picked her up from daycare right before she turned 2. And she was vomiting violently on the way home. And I thought it was the flu. So I, brought her in the house and stripped her down, put her in the tub, and then she had hives creeping all up over her body, and they were spreading fast. And by then I realized she was having anaphylaxis, and we ran down to the clinic that was 3 minutes away and got that taken care of. And so now she has a little EpiPen wherever she goes, and we're big advocates for food allergy awareness with this epidemic of life-threatening peanut allergies, and nobody knows what's causing it. So that's been a big thing. And then also, when she was little, I noticed she wasn't hearing as well as before. If she wasn't looking at me, I'd have to stomp on the floor to get her attention. And she could recite nursery rhymes from a long time ago, but the new ones, she wasn't reciting them right. So I thought, well, she must be having some trouble hearing. Took her to the doctor, and she had bulging eardrums, and she's had a lot of surgeries on her ears. She's had 5 different surgeries. She's had her eardrum reconstructed 3 different times. Still pretty scarred over. She's got diminished hearing, which has been complicated being a performer, because she can't always tell how loud or quiet she is. And then when people are talking to her, she can hear them but can't differentiate the enunciation of the words. So she knows you're talking to her, but wait, what did you say? And then the last thing was, same time, about 2 years old, the daycare lady called and said, "What's wrong with your daughter? She just sits with a blanket over her head and rocks the whole day." And she had been going there for 6 months, and this was the first I heard of it, and I was just stunned. And so I cried and cried and cried for days and days. And she's got sensory processing disorder, which is where her brain isn't interpreting incoming input senses the way that you and I would interpret it. Kind of like how fingernails on a chalkboard make your skin crawl even though there's no real threat to your body. Your body just kind of recoils from that. So she does that with a lot of things, the way things feel, taste, sound. So that was with the rocking. She put the blanket over her head to kind of hide. So that's been a struggle too, with this sensory stuff, where she would kind of go off in a trance and stare off, and I'd say we'd lose her to a zombie Lisi, and then she'd kind of start to come back to us a little bit. And so, with all this medical stuff going on, we just wanted something else to focus on besides all of these diagnoses and doctor's appointments. And so with magic, she really took into it, and she watched that DVD, the first kit she had, she watched that over and over and over, and then she started performing for family in town. Then we Skyped family out of town, and then she wanted to do more from there. And I was physical therapist at a nursing home at the time. So I asked the activities director, can we come and do a magic show? And did a magic show there, and they loved it, and kept going from there.
That is amazing. Now, Alison, you just going through that story, I can still see how difficult that is. That reliving and going through, and I'm sure you've shared the story many, many times over, but still just going through those steps and going through all of that is still such a hard story to tell, such a hard journey to relive almost.
Yeah, it's nothing you picture before you have kids, and then you end up with one with special needs. But God doesn't give you anything you can't handle, and He must have thought I was okay to handle such a little angel like Annelise, and she's taught me more than I've taught her, that's for sure.
And we are so grateful for your approach and the story that we can bring to our audience today, because it is so truly inspiring. It really, really is, from you as a mum and wanting to have the best for her, and getting that magic kit and putting that in front of her, and it's like a match made in heaven. It just seems like it's really brought so much in your life, Annelise, and in your life, Alison, and how things are going forward, and how is that journey continue to unfold. So you got the magic kit, and she ate all the information very quickly. What happened next?
Then we went on YouTube looking for other ways to do magic tricks, and we found Julian's Magician School and learned a bunch of his stuff. And then a lot of our shows have been me doing cold calls, just calling people up. I called the manager at our Central States Fair saying, I've got this little girl. Thankfully, he's really into magic. He had us come for a private audition, and he loved her. And so we did that last summer and met another magician there who has been really instrumental with helping us develop the show part of our magic show, because she has the technical stuff down, but we don't know where to go with the showmanship. And I don't know, I'm a physical therapist. So it's been really helpful to get a lot of input. Sometimes I feel like we started a marathon and I'm trying to ask for directions on the way, you know. But yeah, it's been a lot easier the further we go with it, and the more well-known she is, it's easier and easier to get our foot in the door.
That is amazing to hear, and your persistence in that finding out and learning all about, like you say, not just the technical but the performance side. And there's so much out there to learn, and I mean, as you've seen, and just from listening to you, there's so much that all of us, our audience and everybody can learn from you, just on what it is like when you start out on this journey. And we are very, very thankful to you for going on this journey and sharing this story. And I'm super excited to follow and see how this goes. Now, you say you've been on Julian's Magician School and you've learned a whole load of bits and pieces there. There's a whole host of other resources as well. Kids Entertainer Podcast has got a website to it. It's called the Kids Entertainer Hub. And a whole host of entertainers write regular blog posts and talk about the performance side of entertaining.
Right.
So there's a whole lot of information out there and people who are willing to help. And anyone like you sharing, you reach out to, are happy to help. And it's heartwarming to know.
Yeah, we've had an overwhelming response and generosity of people offering to some insights and suggestions, and it's been nice. It's a lot of hard work because we started from ground zero. You know, I'm figuring stuff out the hard way, like, oh, that must be why magicians wear black. You know, we really had no idea what we're doing. So we're step by step, we're getting there. And feel like I'm trying to lay the foundation for when she wants to take off and run with it when she's older, that all of that stuff will already be done and she can take off running.
Yeah, that is amazing, because it's almost like you're doing it the other way around. Normally, magicians will become from magicians from a dad or an uncle or somebody else that has got an interest from in their field, and they will sort of guide them along and follow in their footsteps. But you're almost doing it the other way around. And
I don't know anything about this stuff.
well, it's amazing to see your level of support for her, and what an incredible investment in her future, because it really seems to have struck something with her. It's a fantastic tool for her to be able to deal with the difficulties that general life would present, and it's that area where she can absolutely excel.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely tougher than if it were just a typical kid doing it. You know, some people offer advice and suggestions, and I have to think to myself, well, that's probably not going to work in our case because of the sensory thing. But it's so fun to see her go up on stage, and she just blossoms, and she is so outgoing and so funny. She comes up with a lot of jokes and just throws them in there on a whim, and she's not shy and quiet like she is right now or during regular life. She just really transforms into something pretty neat. It's fun to see.
That is amazing, and that is a natural talent to be able to do that, to be able to go on stage and just throw lines in there. And at least that is a true talent to be able to do that. Well done. Use that. Don't ever lose it. That is what it's all about. The technical part of magic is a very small part of it. I actually came across this the other day. Entertaining people is 80% entertaining and 20% technicality. So and you certainly seem to be having that, Annelise. The way that you go about your tricks. I've had a look at a couple of your videos and it made me giggle. The bit where you produce one of your birds, and I would suspect that it's probably Cosmo, you suspect, and then you bring out the dove pan and you say, now I'm going to show you how to bake a bird, or something to that. And that really made me giggle, because the implied meaning there is, you know, the double take on that. It's really fantastic, and you've got so much going for you. It's delightful to be able to catch someone so early in their journey. And many years from now, Annelise, when you have grown and you are famous all over the world and you're performing on massive big stages, you can listen back to this interview as a time marker in your journey, and you can see how far you've come. How good is that to be able to have like a snippet of how it is like for you now, to be able to look back on that?
You've come a long way in 2 years.
Oh, yes. And I can only imagine how far you're going to go with it.
That we got the whole family involved, where her stepdad Eric builds a lot of the props. I sew a lot of the costumes and their special trick cloths. Yeah. And then Benny, he's the little assistant. Poor guy gets stage fright, and Annelise, I had to actually explain the concept of what it is to be stage fright. She just couldn't grasp it. We went on a field trip, and there was a guy there that was teaching, and he was really nervous in front of the kids, and she couldn't figure out why he was acting funny. I was like, well, honey, most people get a little nervous when they're up in front of a bunch of people. Why? Thankfully, you don't have that. It took me 25 years, I think, but you're already there, so.
Fantastic. Wow. Again, you can't teach that. You can't teach that. It's been absolutely wonderful to have a chat with the two of you, Annelise and Alison. There's one last question I want to ask the two of you. And between the two of you, what would you think is the most valuable piece of advice you can give to any new starter, whether they are grown up or whether they are young like you are, Annelise, or anybody that's new and starting out on this journey of becoming a magician? What piece of advice do you think would be useful for them?
Well, I think from my aspect is to don't be afraid to admit that you need help and advice. I think it'd be much harder to try to go it alone instead of surrounding yourself with a good support system. And I think Lise always just tells people to practice, and then when you're done, practice some more.
Those are the best words you can hear out of a magician's mouth, Annelise. Well done. Thank you so much to the two of you. It's been an absolute delight, and I know that a true inspiration for old hands and new starters alike, and I really appreciate and thank you for your time today.
Thank you.